Hey guys, Lancey here. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining me while looking to some more MTG market movers and obviously some stocks as well to see what the real world impacts are going to be for the collectible market. So let's get to it. So the first things first, dollar. So the dollar has taken a bit of a dive. It does look pretty weak. It may end the day below the 50 moving average. In which case, the next thing that it's going to test is probably about 92 on the DXY. And if that fails, then obviously it's going to have to test the 200-day moving average. If that fails, then the dollar's got a long way to go, all the way back to 89, wherever its previous support was. And if that fails, then it's off the cliff. It has nowhere else to go. In my head, the dollar could actually continue to rise, but that's only because a lot of things are going forward from the charting perspective. Currently, the Federal Reserve has said nothing about tapering. They really, well, they have, but they really also want to avoid saying anything to spook the markets. So we'll have to see what happens. If you guys are interested, obviously gold is actually doing pretty well above the 200-day right now. So there's a chance that gold could break out higher, but it is very close to this upwards trending chart, which means if it doesn't get above the 200, stay above the 200, hits this chart, it could drop quite a bit further. Bitcoin bouncing off its 200-day moving average as well. It looks like everything is kind of waiting for something to give for either a move up or move down. So we'll have to look at the fundamentals, as much as a lot of people say charts are the only thing that matters. The charts can be predictive, but right now they are predicting that things are going to go well for gold and Bitcoin. The VIX is showing that things are going to go well for the S&P 500 as well. Right now, anything that's red pretty much means there is no danger in the S&P 500 or anything in general. So we'll have to see what happens. The US 10-year yield is dropping, which means now it's got the death cross. The red line is below the 200-day moving average, which is the white line, which means there's a lot of momentum to the downside. It's pretty crazy, but what it's pretty much saying is that interest rates could go lower because people are having trouble getting money. The Australian USD exchange, huge bump up. So now the USD is actually coming up to be quite strong. You can see that it's almost 3.53%. So, exchange rates and stuff, it might not have that much of an impact. But maybe if you're importing stuff, you might want to wait until a stronger Australian dollar if you're in Australia. Let's move on to the dual lands. Now, I'm going to jump straight into this because I know that most people are going to be interested. The dual lands look like they're very stable right now. I'm looking at Badlands, Bayou. Bayou is one of those weird ones which is actually still going or moving higher. You can see that the market is now setting it up at $590. That's pretty crazy compared to where it was the same time last year. Less than half. So it's pretty much doubled in 1 year. Oh yeah, look at this one. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know when I bought into this, but I was very hesitant even then, but pretty sure I came in around about July. I forgot when I made those purchases. But right now, it looks like it's actually got another bump up for plateau. So I'd probably keep an eye on plateau just to see what's going to happen with it. It still looks pretty stable to what it was in the last couple of weeks. Savannah, same thing, still moving up. Scrubland, moving flatlining quite a bit. Not really much movement there. Tiger kind of pulling back from a huge spike up in the very end. The one that I don't have, too bad. Tundra, flatlining at 500. So it looks like they found a price point and they just don't seem to want to really move up. You can see a bit of a jump up for Tropical Island, but we'll have to see what comes out of it. And Underground Sea, it looks like it's flatlining as well. So overall, what really happens with the MTG markets is stimulus and ways to make sure that the consumer spends money on products and not day-to-day living. So I know that there's the rent moratorium and all of that stuff. That all has an impact on Magic cards. We'll have to see what happens to it, where either the US government, because it's all very US centric, US government tries to tax everyone more or something. You know, inflation is obviously a tax on the people anyways. We'll have to see what comes out of it. Volcanic Island revised, flatlining as well. Moving on to the market movers of the day. Well of Knowledge, very, very spiky, very dangerous from Weatherlight on the reserve list. Any player may pay 2 during his or her draw phase to draw a card. Players may use this ability as many times as they choose. Pretty cool card. Actually, really cool. I assume if you're a green deck, you can abuse this quite well. But it is spiking from a market price or average price of $7.87. But you can see something weird going on where the market price and the average price have inverted. So the average price has spiked up. The market price has gone down from $12.87 to $9.85. TCG player says $8.40. I'd be saying that's a bit hard. Or for sale. Golgari Signet from Commander's Anthology 2, once again spiking up like crazy to $3.29. I said it before, the cheapest versions of this you can get Modern Masters for $1, maybe not anymore, but still. I think it's got the same art, but yeah, it's kind of crazy for one specific card to spike in the set, but it might just be quite a bit rarer. Knight of Thorns from the Dark, so on the reserve list, you can see that it took off around the same time as every other reserve list card, starting from around about $8.90, average price of $5.55. Huge spike up, now stabilizing at around about $22. Purple Worm art card. Now these I find quite unusual. You can get the actual card for 23 cents and the art series for 43 cents, but I assume this is the one that's got the artist signature. So it is actually moving up quite fast. Like, I mean, it started at $2.43 and now it's sitting at $2.43 for the market. $2.47 for the market, not really much move there, but the average price of $4.49 to $9.39 is crazy. So I'll just have a quick check on TCG to find out what they actually you can get them for. Infernal Medusa from Legends, not on the reserve list. Very tricky to evaluate these cards. It is from Legends, so it's got that going for it. Not the best card from Legends, obviously. But it had a huge spike up where obviously someone bought it and then started slowly selling it back into the market. And good for them, because I'm 100% sure they made money, because this was obviously just one person that, a handful of people that did that and then started selling back in. You can see that the average price has also moved up because of that. $9.40 for near mint gold stamped. That is actually insane. $9.88. So yeah, people are after that one for sure. Cassandra Battle Seraph from Commander. Now this card had a huge buyout recently, a couple of weeks ago, and ever since then it's been flatlining. But you can see that even these small spikes are now starting to come up in this. 33% gain for her today, but I wouldn't really worry too much about this kind of stuff. You can get it from other sets for $1.78 or something. Armageddon from 6th edition, jumping straight up to an average price of $12.79. That's kind of crazy. The market price itself is sitting at $6.74. I've said this before for Armageddon and other cards like this. They're not very good for Commander, but they are rare enough that people do pick them up. Mindflayer art card, another gold stamped signature. Once again, very much a collector's edition. People are going after these way more than most people expected, I assume. A lot of people didn't really like these artist cards. Thought that it was very gimmicky, but it looks like there's some value behind them, especially for the art and stamped ones. Moving on to Bob Ross Secret Lairs, The Forest. So these had a huge these had a huge price start. They flatlined recently. You can see that the average price of $4.97 to market price of $2.99. In my head, what's going to happen is each of the Bob Ross art cards are going to probably average around about $5 for a long period of time, because that's kind of how much you pay for the Secret Lairs. And then maybe very late in the cycle, they must start inching forward, assuming that Wizards of the Coast doesn't just make a Bob Ross another land cycle for them. Leviathan from the Dark, pretty interesting, cool art. Moving up quite rapidly. Once again, this actually started moving up before the reserve list cards bought out. This is not even on the reserve list. It is from the dark, but you can get a 5th edition and a 4th edition for 44 and 49 cents, so nothing crazy there. But the from the dark black border one is going to set you back about, what is that, $11, maybe $15. So pretty crazy when you think about it. You can get a beatdown box set, which is exactly the same art with even black border on it for 42 cents. So, you know, you're really going to get after that from the dark. Arabian Nights, Sorceress Queen. We've talked about this one a few times. Very stable, very consistently moving up. So people are getting their hands on this card, but I've said it before, you can get the 4th edition one for 84 cents. It does look like the prices of those are slowly ticking up as well. Alibaba from Arabian Nights. So once again, huge spike up. This feels like market manipulation. Be very careful into buying into this kind of stuff. If you want it, it's not on the reserve list. There's a 4th edition for 25 cents. Pretty cool. Same art. Not black border, but for 25 cents, you can get a text and black border ready yourself if you want to play it. Moving on to MTG Goldfish. So the biggest movers, Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, Vampires. Vampires, I think that's pretty self-explanatory with Innistrad coming up. So I would not be surprised if Innistrad, Midnight. A lot of Vampires Tribal is going to come out of that. There might even be some reprints of Vampires. It's very dangerous to kind of buy out a lot of these. But Veto was printed out recently, so there's a chance that he might not come out in the new set. Biggest drop, nothing that I can see that was a big impact. Dryad of the Elysian Grove, really good card, $17, 4% drop. For Pioneer, Teferi Time Raveler moved up by 5% to sit at $19. Arlen Cord moved up by 13% to $6.48, obviously werewolves. Kaya Ozo Serper moved up by 8% to now sit at $8.12. The biggest drops, nothing really. Alanda, the Dust Rose, surprisingly, a vampire that dropped by 5%, but she's already sitting at $23, so that's pretty high jump. Moving on to Modern. Now, there were some interesting ones in here. So Steam Vent is there, obviously. Then there's Topo Orb, the most annoying card ever, 20% gain for now sitting at $20. You got Fracturing Gust still here, 11% gain to sit at $18.87. Elvish Piper, 14% gain to now sit at $14.64. Olivia Voldaren, a 15% gain to now sit at $9.95. Vampires. Yeah, but it's dangerous because there's a chance that she might still get she might be involved in a commander deck. Goblin King, $11 gain, now sitting at $11.46. Anyways, guys, that is it from my side. There is no big drops. Coat of Arms, Aether Veil dropping down by 7%, but nothing too crazy. So I think that's a good way to call it. Thanks again for watching. Have a good one, and see ya.